You've heard of Bitcoin. Maybe you own some. Maybe you think it's a scam. Maybe you've watched people get rich from it or lose everything, and you still have no idea what it actually is. But here's a question almost nobody asks. Not what is Bitcoin? Not how does it work? Not should you buy it? Why was it invented? Because the person who built Bitcoin left a clue. One sentence, buried permanently inside the code on the exact day the network launched. That sentence is still there today. Anyone can read it. Most people never do. And when you understand what it says and why they put it there, everything you thought you knew about Bitcoin changes completely. To understand why Bitcoin was built, you need to understand what happened in the 6 weeks before it. The 15th of September 2008. Lehman Brothers, one of the largest and oldest banks in America, collapsed in a single day. It had been operating for 158 years. It was gone by morning. It was the largest bank failure in American history. What happened next is the part that matters. Within 3 weeks, the United States government announced a $700 billion rescue package for the banking system, the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act, signed on the 3rd of October 2008. The banks that had caused the crisis through years of reckless gambling with other people's money were being saved with public money. Ordinary people were losing their homes. The people responsible kept their jobs and their bonuses. 46 days after Lehman fell on the 31st of October 2008, a person or group of people using the name Satoshi Nakamoto published a 9-page document. The title was Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. In the very first paragraph, the abstract was one sentence that explained everything. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Without going through a financial institution, that was not a technical description. That was a political statement. But Satoshi did not just publish a document. They built something. On the 3rd of January 2009, exactly 10 weeks after the white paper, the Bitcoin network went live. The very first block of Bitcoin ever created is called the Genesis block. And inside it, written permanently into the foundation of the entire system, is a message. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. That is a real newspaper headline. The Times, London, front page. The 3rd of January, 2009, the exact day Satoshi launched Bitcoin. The UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, Alistair Darling, was about to announce another round of taxpayer-funded bailouts for the banking system. Satoshi embedded that headline into the foundation of Bitcoin on the same day. Not as a timestamp, as a reason. This is what I am building against. But Bitcoin did not appear from nowhere. For 16 years before Satoshi, a group of cryptographers, programmers, and privacy activists called the cypherpunks had been trying to build exactly this. In 1998, a programmer named Wei Dai published a theoretical system called B-Money, the first design for money that governments could not regulate. Satoshi cited it directly in the Bitcoin white paper. That same year, a cryptographer named Nick Szabo designed something called BitGold, almost identical to Bitcoin in concept. It was never launched. In 2004, a developer named Hal Finney built a system called reusable proofs of work, the closest anyone had gotten. All three failed for the same reason. They could not figure out how to create money nobody controlled without needing somebody to trust somebody. Satoshi solved it. Here is the part that most people who own Bitcoin have never thought about. When Satoshi designed the system, they hard-coded one number into the protocol. 21 million. That is the maximum number of Bitcoin that will ever exist. Not a guideline, not a suggestion. A permanent limit built into the mathematics of the network from day one. Why does that number matter? Because governments have no limit. The United States Federal Reserve created over $3 trillion in new money in 2020 alone. Every time a government prints new currency, the money you already have becomes worth slightly less. It is slow, it is invisible, but it never stops. Satoshi designed Bitcoin to be the exact opposite, finite, scarce, like gold but with a harder limit than any metal on Earth. But here is the part of the story that nobody talks about. On the 23rd of April 2011, 2 years after launching the most significant monetary technology since the printing press, Satoshi Nakamoto sent a final email to a developer named Mike Hearn. 5 words. I've moved on to other things. Then disappeared. Completely. Forever. No press conference, no exit interview, no final statement. Satoshi is believed to hold approximately 1 million Bitcoin. At the time of writing, that is worth tens of billions of dollars. They have never touched a single coin. The person who built the world's most valuable monetary network walked away from all of it and has never been identified. Nobody in the history of finance has ever done that. Let's slow down. In our first video, we showed you something. Your bank account is not money. It is a promise from a bank to give you money if you ask. In our second video, we showed you something else. Your salary is not payment. It is a promise from an employer that a number will appear at the end of the month. For most of human history, those promises held. Most of the time, most people trusted the system enough that nobody thought too hard about it. Then 2008 happened. Both promises broke at the same time. Banks stopped lending. Companies stopped making payroll. The US lost $11 trillion in household wealth in 18 months, not because a vault was opened, not because anyone stole anything, but because enough people stopped believing the promise simultaneously. Satoshi's response was not to reform the system. It was to build an exit from it. But here is what most people who buy Bitcoin never understand. Bitcoin did not remove the need for trust. It moved it with a bank. You trust an institution, a building, a board of directors, a government guarantee. With Bitcoin, you trust mathematics. You trust millions of computers running the same code, each one checking the others, no single one in charge. Both systems require faith, just in different things. The anthropologist David Graeber said money has always been a story that enough people agreed to tell. The Sumerian priest with his clay tablet was telling a story. The medieval merchant whose reputation crossed continents was telling a story. The number in your banking app is a story. Satoshi wrote a new story. 1.4 billion people are now participating in it. The question is not whether you believe in Bitcoin. The question is, what does it say about the old story that someone felt the need to write a new one? So, the real reason Bitcoin was invented. Not to make you rich, that was an accident. Not to fund criminals, that was a side effect. Not as a technology experiment, that was the vehicle. Bitcoin was invented because on the 15th of September 2008, the largest bank failure in American history happened. And the response of every government on earth was to save the same system that had just broken using the money of the people. The system had just failed. Someone decided that was unacceptable. And they built a form of money that no government, no central bank, no institution could print more of, freeze, devalue, or cancel. Whether they succeeded is still being decided. But the reason they tried is 5,000 years old. The same reason ancient merchants built reputation networks when temples became unreliable. The same reason serfs grew their own food when lords could not be trusted. The same reason pyramid builders went on strike when the rations stopped coming. Every few hundred years, the money system breaks badly enough that someone builds something new. Bitcoin is just the latest version of that story. The creator disappeared into anonymity. The code keeps running. And in the very first block ever mined in the foundation of everything, a newspaper headline sits permanently embedded in the mathematics. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It is still there today. It will be there long after the newspaper has crumbled.